Hi YouTube, ACDodd here, and welcome to another episode of On the Road Tuning with me, ACDodd. And this is the first of two parts, and that's because we are going over to the Isle of Wight West Country mini adventure, which I've just spent the weekend at. And I've got some footage which I want to show, and I'll split up into two parts. It's not particularly long, but hopefully you'll still get something out of it. So let's dig in. So here we are, we find ourselves at the West Country Minis Isle of Wight adventure, and the first car of the Saturday is this nice Sprite. So let's get stuck in and see what we can find. Okay, so as we get into this Sprite, I just wanted to let everybody know that on the first day, this was a, join the queue and wait to be seen. So it's a £95 session. You get basically half an hour to 45 minutes of my time on your car, and basically I've got two cars here for you on that first day, so you can actually see the typical things that just rolled in, so to speak. And let's see what this Sprite has to reveal. So one of the first things we look at on this one is this. Clearly we got a misfire. We got way too lean, so that's our first thing we're going to look at, and we're also going to look at the plugs and the timing. So one of the things I wanted to do here is just let you listen to that engine. So as you can see, we open the throttle, it won't even rev out, and it won't rev out for a couple of reasons, but one of which is it's just so lean. And this is what they sound like. People drive these like this, and they drive terribly on the road, which is why they're obviously coming over for a tune-up. So as it turns out, this has got further problems. So let's have a look. Okay, so into this Sprite, and if you'll notice in there, you might be able to see contact patch, all right? And that's because this carburetor has been hit at some point there, and it's making the piston go in and seize, all right, so it won't come out. So that's no good. So what we're going to try and do in the field is to try and file that, scrape that off to give us some clearance. So how am I going to do that in the field? I've got I haven't got my workshop with me, so I can't easily do things. Well, what I actually do was improvise, and in the best spirit of the old British hand engineering. I took my gasket scraper that I carry with me. This isn't the one, but this I've got one just like it in my toolkit, which is basically an old power hacksaw blade. Clearly I can't use the sharp end, okay, because we've got a round surface. So I utilise the back end, the rounded part, and then I was able to go into that bell chamber and just scrape away at the high spot, okay. And I did that a number of times. Here's one I got here, and obviously I just had that inside, and I just worked away scraping the inside of the surface where the high spot was. I also had a marker pen, a Sharpie, and I was able to just put the Sharpie over the high spot and then put the piston in, and where the piston contacted, it enabled me to see where the high spots were, and then I was able to continue scraping. It took me a good 10-15 minutes to actually get the high spot off. But I then dressed it up with some wet and dry paper, cleaned obviously all the abrasive and the detritus out, or any of the swarf, and then obviously put it back together. Okay, so what we've now done is I've managed to get that working, and you can't really see it, but there is some scratch marks left, but I've scraped the housing and then just dressed it with some abrasive paper. But we've taken the high spot off, and that's now working and like it should do. Okay, so we got this one all running. In the end, just a set of spark plugs. We needed 8 degrees more on the ignition timing. The vacuum unit wasn't working. Really, I've advised the customer here, he's probably best off changing the whole dizzy, but I haven't got time to do that today. So a recurve dizzy with a new vacuum unit. In terms of the carburetor, obviously we've got the standard airbox on here, which is fine. We haven't drilled it because the fueling's actually pretty good. The problem we had was the piston was getting jammed inside the bell chamber, so it wasn't opening fully. I managed to modify the inside of the carb and get that working, and now she's a lot better. So as usual, I'll let the owner go out in it, and I'm sure they're going to be a lot happier with that. So as we said in my little summary there, clearly that piston was causing a lot of issues. So obviously I found that the needle itself was actually fueling actually quite well once we got the piston moving. The other thing to understand is because I used the time up solving those problems, I wasn't able to perhaps do a little bit more work to that, like drill the airbox and all this kind of stuff, because obviously I would then need to change the needler. So when there's limited time, you can only go for the most the most pressing problem, and in this case it was the piston wasn't opening up. The other thing you heard there is me talking about the ignition timing. So we had 8 degrees adjustment needed on the timing, and also you heard me recommend there that engine would probably run a lot better with a different advance curve, because it was the Sprite timing, which is very long and quite slow. So if we was able to change that in the future, this engine would pull more torque and obviously be a little bit more aggressive to drive. Okay, so next car we got in, this is a Stage 1998 that I've already tuned a couple of years ago. But what's happened since then, the owner's taken the advice and he's had a rebuilt carb fitted. But it's turned up this morning and it's not fully warm yet, but as you can hear, it's got a bit of a misfire, so there's interesting things going on. Spark plugs are the wrong type, so somebody's fitted resistor BP6s in, which I wouldn't have done back in the day. So clearly this has been suffering with mechanics that don't know what they should be fitting. So first thing I'm going to do, coil's the right factory one, so I'm just going to look at the dwell angle and just see if our points have warmed. One of the things that normally happens on these cars is they don't get any maintenance. Put it on the right setting helps. So looks like we got enough coil charge time. Maybe the points gap's a little bit small, so what we'll do is we'll look at that first and go from there. Okay, I always like to see return customers coming back, and this is a chap I saw the previous year, and he's gone away and taken the advice that I gave him with them, which is have the carb rebuilt. But as we can see, car's been presented back and there's some changes from obviously how I did it last year. So it's got different spark plugs in, and obviously the state it's running at the moment, as you can hear when we open the throttle there, it's not happy. So what we're going to do is go through this one and find out what the problems are. And obviously one of the issues I have to deal with a lot is other people fitting stuff or changing things after I've been there, which then detract from the good running of the engine, how I've left it, and make it worse. So let's dig in and see what we find. Right, so spark plugs out of this one, you can see filthy, gap's too big, and we got resistor plugs and 6s, so just about everything about that plug is the wrong one for this engine. So again, I tuned this a couple of years ago and I didn't fit those. Somebody's been working on this in the meantime, so we're changing it for a set of BP5s, non-resistor, and I'm gapping them because when you take them out of the packet, the gap is too big. So you need to shut the gap down so that you run the right gap, and that's the right gap for this car, 25 thou, because it's got points. I just thought I took the opportunity there doing that tune to actually show me gap in a spark plug, because you don't very often see me do it on the videos, but obviously take spark plugs out of a packet, you don't just put them in. You take them out of the packet and you gap them according to the ignition system that's fitted on the vehicle. And in this case, we've actually got a points ignition and a 1.5 ohm coil. So therefore, we only use a 25 thou plug gap. Those new plugs come out of the packet typically around 35. So we need to gap them and reduce the gap down. So that's me doing it there. Okay, so got this engine going. All I had to do was change the spark plugs. The timing was only a couple of degrees out, but I had to adjust the points gap because it's still running points. Got the right coil on. Engine wise, or carburetor wise, so the car's been rebuilt, and unfortunately whoever's done that has not done the best job because it's not holding the fuel in perfectly. And they'd also fitted a treble A needle, which was just hosing way too much fuel through the engine, and we had black spark plugs. So luckily, because I tuned this before, the customer had with him the original needle in the old carb. So the needle that I made before, I was able to take out and put it back in. And funnily enough, that corrected most of the fueling. I did have to adjust it a little bit just on progression up to full power, but yeah, she's on the money now. Okay, right, so that carburetor had been taken off and rebuilt by a friend of the owner, and as it turns out, he wasn't really a friend at all in so much of what he was actually doing to the car, because he'd taken the carb, they rebuilt the carb, he'd taken my needle out, which I've made, and then he put a treble A needle in, thinking that was better. In actual fact, that needle was the result, well, the end result of fitting that needle was those black spark plugs that you saw out of that engine at the beginning. So I'm just trying to say to people here, don't just fit stuff because you think it's better. You only fit stuff when you know it's better, okay? And knowing comes from measurement, testing and experience. So in this particular case, I was able to take that treble A needle out. Just to say again, a treble A needle in a 998 engine is usually much too rich. So I was able to take that needle out, and I was lucky enough that the owner had the original carb in the boot of the vehicle, and he was able to give me that from the tune I did last year. I was able to remove that needle, put that needle in that new rebuilt carb, and then I was able to dial it in. And funnily enough, as it said in the video, that corrected the fueling to be virtually perfect. The only modification I had to do to that needle was to just add a bit of fuel on progression. And then obviously you can hear the result. The engine's a lot cleaner, running properly. I would have, if I had time, got the guy back to show him the cleaner plugs, but in reality, we didn't have time. But clearly he went out and did a road test, and I can assure you he was very happy with the vehicle. So that brings us to the end of part one. Stay tuned for part two, and in part two it's basically covering the vehicles I did on day two, which was basically the owners were pre-booked, so they came over and they basically paid a little bit more money and they had a little bit more of my time, so I was able to spend more time obviously getting those cars dialed in and able to fit more components where required. So as ever, please like, subscribe, share these videos. Any questions you got, please put down below, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.